Reverend Philip Sulumeti was born on August 15, 1937, to Agnes Iponge and Mark Ijait in Kotur, Amkura, Catholic Diocese of Bungoma. He was baptized on 28 August 1937 by Reverend Father Bernard Rostron, Mill Hill Missionary. He received his first Holy Communion on 13th June 1947 and was confirmed on 20th October 1948 by Monsignor Philip Skefa. He went to Amkura Primary School in 1947. After primary education, he joined St. Peter's Seminary Mukumu for secondary education from 1952 to 1958. In 1959, he proceeded to St. Mary's Gaba Seminary in Uganda for philosophical and theological studies. He studied philosophy from 1959 to 1960 and theology from 1961 to 1965. On 30th December 1964, he was ordained subdeacon in Kisumu Cathedral by Bishop John de Ripa. Bishop de Ripa ordained him deacon on 29th June 1965 in St. Peter's Seminary Mukumu, and he was appointed to Musoli Parish. Bishop Sulumeti was ordained priest on 6 January 1966 in Amkura Parish by Bishop John de Ripa. Following his priestly ordination, he took up appointment at Kaplong Secondary School and then at Shibuye Parish. In September 1967, he went to Rome for studies until December 1970, whereupon he graduated from Urbaniana Pontifical University with a doctorate in canon law. In 1971, he was appointed the diocesan secretary and at the same time the second vicar general of the Diocese of Kisumu. On 20th August 1972, he received his episcopal ordination and was appointed the auxiliary of the Diocese of Kisumu from 20th August 1972 to 19th March 1976, after which he became the diocesan administrator of the same diocese. On 9th December 1976, he was appointed the Bishop of Kisumu.
Sulumeti, having been consecrated bishop in 1972, he was an auxiliary bishop till 1976, when he became the Bishop of Kisumu, taking over from Bishop John de Ripa. I look at that transition as a very important milestone in the church in Kenya, because then he became one of the earliest African bishops to take over from the missionaries. And he steered the Diocese of Kisumu then up to 1978, when he moved to Kakamega, which was created as the Diocese in 1978.
Consequently, on 27th April 1987, the new Diocese of Bungoma was created from the split of the Diocese of Kakamega. On 24th November 2012, the Holy See accepted the resignation of Bishop Philip Sulumeti, but asked him to carry on shepherding the Diocese of Kakamega until when his successor would be appointed. On 5th December 2014, Bishop Joseph Obanyi Sagwe was appointed as the second Bishop of Kakamega, who was later consecrated on 7th March 2015. Bishop Philip Sulumeti has a story that goes beyond time and outlives years. A person of 88 years has left a towering legend.
He ordained me a priest. I've journeyed with him as a son and a collaborator. But a few things I want to mention, among others. Number one, where we are now. This is the university chaplaincy. Our Blessed Mother Mary, seat of wisdom. Where we are now is the place where he established. When the Western region needed a university, Bishop Philip Sulumeti, among other eminent men and women of Western Kenya, including the late Professor George Eshuani, were on the forefront for the establishment of Masinde Muliro University, where this chaplaincy is
We are talking about a man who also made a very significant contribution in this country of Kenya. He played significant roles in civic life by always trying to help even our leaders to steer in the right course. He was a great friend of many leaders, and he did not fear or shy away from admonishing those whom he thought that needed to be admonished. He participated very actively in the constitution making of 2005. So he was actually in one of the committees in the constitution making. So the constitutional dispensation of this country, he made a very significant contribution.
As we celebrate the life of Bishop Emeritus Philip Sulumeti, we are celebrating the history of faith. Bishop Emeritus Sulumeti has marked the history of the church in Kenya with great witness in a pastoral ministry, in spiritual works, in social development, education of young people, healthcare, and of course, fighting for the rule of law.
The faith that we witness in the Diocese of Kakamega, the vocations that he nurtured, and most importantly, that he was able to promote vocations, to get local vocations, to get priests, young priests, who could come and help him in shepherding this diocese. He went as far as Tanzania to go and get young men who could become priests so that they can promote vocations. And by the time he was retiring, he had over 90 priests ordained by himself. That tells you of who he was.
These are the values Bishop Sulumeti stood for. During his ministry, Bishop Sulumeti journeyed with the people of God in word and example, dispensing the mysteries of redemption as a faithful announcer of the gospel. Bishop Sulumeti has had great influence on people's lives, laity, religious, and clergy, and this was due to his love for excellence.
In the conference, Bishop Sulumeti is known as a very astute, a very competent, and a very firm person. And they were the pillars of the church, together with the likes of Cardinal Morris Otunga and other Archbishop John Njenga, Archbishop Kirima, and so on. So this was a great man in many respects, and he played his role very much.
Bishop Sulumeti molded and held priests, impressing on them always to seek the best in life and embrace the faith. He always promoted them to being good priests. Bishop Sulumeti had a generous and loving heart for all, an aspect that was outstanding in his ministry.
Bishop was disciplined in liturgy. Bishop was disciplined in matter of handling his health. Bishop was disciplined in many aspects. But of importance for us as clergy, the virtue of obedience. Every time he referred to Bishop Obanyi, he would say, "Is Bishop aware? Yes, you want to engage me. Is Bishop aware?" I learned the virtue of discipline. I learned the virtue of love. I learned quite a lot from him.
As a man of the church, he had a strong belief in the teaching of the ecclesiastical hierarchy, which was witnessed during his retirement period, where at all moments he implored to all in the diocese to cooperate and support his successor, Right Reverend Joseph Obanyi Sagwe, an act he lived by word and example.
Took over in 2015 from him, having created a diocese that was very vibrant, very robust, a diocese where people had been united to do and live their faith in a very authentic way. I have stayed with him for the last 10 years, and he has been an incredible person in my life, advising, praying, and always accompanying me spiritually in my work. So we have been connected up to the last day of his life, and I'm very immensely grateful to a man like this. And I know if I can talk about him from my experience for the last 10 years, I know there are many people in Kakamega and outside who have even a greater experience, better experience than me, who can talk much about it. So we appreciate the many people who journeyed with him, the many people whom he served, the many people whom he helped, and especially in matters education, matters health, he was forefront. The Western region cannot be complete without the contribution of Bishop Sulumeti in education, in health matters, and in social development.
Bishop Obanyi remains grateful to Bishop Philip Sulumeti, and especially the privilege of living with him for 10 years. He feels enriched, and he really encountered a true man of faith, whose knowledge of the gospel values and church teaching ran deep.
Bishop Sulumeti is an institution. I keep on saying that he has moved from a name to an institution, to a legend. He marks the history of Kenya and the history of the church as a person who has built faith. Bishop Sulumeti was an immense history. Every time he will talk, I will see him talk about the history of the church, the history of Kakamega, the history of Western Kenya, the history of the missionaries, and I called it living history. In fact, we said we needed to collect a lot of what he was saying because it was historical wisdom, historical accounts of what we may not read in books. And I believe some of our priests, historians, have now put into record many of those things that he said that will be made into an historical account of the diocese.
It's in view of this that His Lordship Right Reverend Joseph Obanyi Sagwe calls upon all of us to give a respectful, religious, and solemn send-off to the person who cherished the faith and love of the church.
In his will, Bishop Sulumeti was very particular and meticulous in the way he would like to be buried. It was very clear that he would like to be buried according to the stipulations and the life of the church, the teaching of the church. He would like to be buried as a priest of God. And therefore, he would not like many things that are not connected with him as a priest. Apart from all other things, he dies as a priest. And therefore, we as the diocese, in honor of his life and who he was, we plan to carry out our preparations towards his burial, and all the ceremonies and the programs will be geared towards having that was his wish and what the church really recommends. And above all, we do believe that the most important thing is now to lay him to rest as a priest. So our plan then, and according to the liturgical order of the church, is to have a funeral that befits him, a funeral that is devoid of politics, a funeral that is devoid of asides, side shows, a funeral that respects that simple priest who became a bishop. Therefore, we do not intend to have speeches that are outside the real program that is needed to be had. So we know there's a lot that goes on. We know everybody would like to say things about him. We know people would like to laud in what he has been to them. But I think the greatest tribute that we can give him is the prayer, the Mass. And that's why we look forward to his burial day. We shall have Mass, and after Mass, we shall lay him to rest. This is the bottom line. Those who wish probably to pay their tributes are free to send their messages of condolences, their tributes, and that can be expressed in different ways. We don't all have to speak because each one of us has something to say. So the day before and after, during the celebration, we look forward to having a liturgical activity of prayer and burial rites.
Naenda zangu kwa baba yangu.